All right. We figured it out. Okay. Ever hear me? All right. We figured it out. Okay. Okay. So today, this whole new streaming thing. Hi. How's it going? I am working on this gigantic quilt. It was supposed to be a gift for somebody near and dear to me for Christmas, and it just did not happen. So we are going to trim this up and then maybe work on some binding strips today. So let's get started. I've got my trim, I got my ruler, and we'll just unfold this baby. And I think we'll start on the short side because it will be easier to manage. Oh, I did not think this through very well, but here we go. So if we pull this over, we should be able to trim without cutting through, right? Yes. Oh, there's a whole lot of quilt. All right. So I'm gonna get a workout today. Good gravy. Want to line it up to the 1/8 mark as much as we can. There we go. All right. Okay. Maybe we can fold this as we. Yes. Fold it as we go. Oh, I'm gonna knock a bunch of stuff over. All right. Make sure we're not cutting anything else. So I picked these colors for the recipient because they like purple and mauve and navy. And I thought batiks would be a nice way to mix all of those colors in. So for those of you who've been following along on my channel or have popped in recently, you'll see that we've done some Dungeons and Dragons on Sunday. Our Dungeon Master has some things come up in his life, and he is extremely busy the last couple weeks and has delayed our D&D. Oh dear. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to come back to part 1 because, as you can see maybe in here, the stitch they used is actually not the edge of my fabric. So we'll come back. If I were to put the binding on this line here, we wouldn't be catching this seam and it would show all the way around the back. So let's just start again. Luckily, I noticed that right now. And we'll do 1/8 of an inch off of that sewing line rather than, oh, it's not even straight. Good gravy. You know, let me have a look. Now, I'm going to trim it the way I want, and then we're going to come back because it is definitely not even. And that could just be me. That could just be my quilting because I am not very good. This is not my first one, but it is also one of my early ones. See, we're not quite square. We'll continue the way we were, and then maybe we'll flip it over and trim it again. But I know that we're at least getting square on the front. If that makes sense. And if there's anybody watching who says, no, don't do it that way, you're doing it wrong, please leave me a note. Why are you unfolding so badly? Oh, I told you it was going to be a workout. Yep. Okay. All right. Does anybody else wrestle this hard with their quilts? Or is it only just me? Is it because I'm really short? Is it a short thing? Oh, and of course, my nose has started to run terribly badly. Okay. I did put a new blade in, so it is extremely sharp. Get you out of the way up there. Perhaps we should have started at this end, but, you know, good intentions, right? Right. Okay, just checking to make sure I have sound, because, you know, some of these streams I've done and I haven't had sound. Okay. We're good there, we're good there, we're good here. Always put the safety back on. Tuck that out of the way so we don't cut into it with that. See, we did a little bit there. Oops. Oops. Okay. Pull that because I don't want to cut it. Okay. I have not been quilting for very long. I started in 2003. Okay, I'll be right back. I gotta blow my nose. Okay. Hi, we're back. Now, let's put that up there. Put that up there. We cannot use these little itty bitty pieces. So I will throw those in the garbage. But we can always use this later down the road. Okay. Now, I think we'll do the long part next, which means I'm going to have to do some unrolling here and some finagling. Because we need to get all of this out of the way. That can go up there. And that's sliding all over the place. Fabric everywhere. Oh, see, a workout. Jeez. Whew. And all this extra batting. We will use it for Franken batting later, I think. It's quite large, actually. It's quite massive for a quilt. Let's just keep going, shall we? Okay. This fabric is nice and tight. Cutting that down, and we can manage this a little better too, hey? Fold that all in nice. Just roll it up. We'll sort it later. Okay. Cutting table is here. Perfect. Keep you somewhat straight. That'll be tight. It is what it is, 'cause you didn't make it straight to begin with. Now, when I don't have the space to long arm this, so I sent it out to one of the local quilt shops to do that service for me. I did have a label on it as to which was the top, which was the bottom. Once we get it all cut, I will take it out into my living room, because it's the only space I have large enough, and figure out what the actual top and the bottom is so that we can start binding on one of the sides towards the bottom rather than on the top, so it's not so noticeable and it's not where you rip and you tear it when you go to pull it up at night when you use it. It's just so big. It's just so big. See, and on this side we didn't have that little line, so I suspect that this was when they basted it on. We'll come back to it. We'll look at it when it's more manageable. My computer just dinged and I was wondering why. Oh, that's why my mouse has fallen off. So I'm pushing around everything. Everything's still okay? We're still connected? Oh, no, okay. All right. I think maybe we'll just tuck that under there. We're almost there. We're almost at the corner. I believe it's 92 or 98 by 92 or 98. And it was a feat in itself. We'll just say that. So hopefully the recipient very much enjoys it. I do have my binding strips cut. I just don't have them chained together. So once we finish this, we'll hop over to the ironing board and maybe iron those strips. And then maybe I'll hold this up so you can actually see what the whole quilt looks like. There it is. The end of this side. Yes. All right. It is most definitely not square. We're just going to make it the best we can. Now I did hear my phone go ding. Okay. Nothing serious. Always put the guard on when you set it down. Okay. We're going to need to manhandle this again. Oh. But I think we can actually get going this way. And free up some of this. Yes. See? Beautiful. Let's sling this up here. Okay. Now I'm going to need a little more slack than that. Thank you. This side looks to be a lot more square. Yes. Look at that. All right. Well, kind of. We're off by a lot. So we'll just take it in smaller chunks, I guess. yourself up into a ball. Oh, I just brought the whole chair closer? Cool. All right. I guess that's how we're rolling today. Now, if anyone is interested, I can share the pattern when I'm done getting this all trimmed up. Kudos to all of those quilters out there who make pieces to go to quilt shows. That's a lot of time and effort and precision too. The recipient of this isn't going to notice if it's not square or slightly off, or if the binding's not perfectly plump. How do you guys all do this? Do you have a larger working table? Should I be doing it at a different table, like my dining room? I don't know. I do have a larger table that my Cutie Breeze frame fits on, but it's just so big. See? Oh, maybe we can get it all. Maybe we can get it all. Yes. Yes, we can. Just pull my cutting board down just a little. Cutting mat down just a little further. I should be able to. Yes. Okay. Yes. It is a good day. Just going to do this. As best we can. All in one fell swoop. Yep. Apparently, no. Apparently, we're not going to do it all in one fell swoop. That's garbage. We'll throw it out later. Last side! Tuck that out of the way because I don't want to cut it. This side looks a little more even. The Pantone we chose is Rambling Rose. Looks so good on this chambray background. Oh, if you can see that in there. Looks great. Wow. We're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. We're almost there. Look at that progress. Yes. We have come to a manageable piece. This. We'll just go up here. We will deal with that later. Maybe later today, maybe in a different episode, maybe off camera. You never know. All right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the first cut of this quilt. Now, I'll give you as I smack myself in the face, a nice, gorgeous look at it. Try to spread it out here. Beautiful pattern. All right. Now, like we said, put the tools out of the way for now. I'm going to just adjust how you see it. Let's see if we can't find the top and the bottom. So I know specifically what I'm looking for, that bottom row. And that is not it. That is not the bottom row either. One more rotation. I believe that is the bottom row. Let's have a look here. I believe this is the top. I tried to put all of my best points on the top row. So let's just grab a little clip and just make a little sign. I have some paper somewhere. I know I do. Don't I? I usually have paper for just this instance. That will do. And we might as well grab our binding strips while we're at it. Top. Okay. Binding strips go over here. Don't worry, I'll switch you around so that you can see the ironing board when we get there. Now, this would then be the bottom. Well, the points down here are really good too. I wonder what I'm thinking. Maybe the long arm service actually helped straighten out my points. Yes, they don't look nearly as bad as I thought they were. Okay, well, let's get this folded up into some sort of a manageable piece of fabric. And then we can start on our next project with putting the binding together. Okay. This chair is really not helping me any. I know, it's crazy watching me fold a quilt, but it is kind of what it is. We can bring these pieces in. Well, that side, well, it's organized better than it was. We'll say that. Plop this in. Okay. One, right, and we will put this aside for later. And by put it aside, I basically mean just put it in the top corner. Okay, I'm going to plug my iron in. And while we wait for that to warm up, I will reorganize you so you can see me again on the camera. It's going to be a bit wobbly, so I have to move my camera on a tripod. So let's just give us a... So I bunk the ceiling. We come over here. We want to actually be on the table. And we'll do a little adjustment here. Oh. Maybe a little higher. Autofocus. Beauty. Okay. We're good? How about we go just a stitch higher so you can actually see my little face. This is my accoutrements corner. Got all of my rulers here. I've got my bag making supplies here. In the summer it gets really stuffy. Got my little green press in here. So which way are we going? We're going to work this way, even though it seems kind of odd. So like I said, I pre-cut all of these. We just want to give them, they've been, since this was a Christmas gift, they've been in that drawer for a couple months. So I just want to make sure that we get most of the wrinkles out. And because they're batiks, it's your choice what side you want to use. One side will be slightly brighter and one side will be slightly duller, just the way that they actually dyes the fabric. So it's up to you to choose whichever way you'd like your binding to be. It's just the ink pools in the water just a little differently from one side to the other. So I'm going to open them all the same way, and then I will keep the orientation like this as I go through. Make sure. And once we get these joined together, we're going to come back and fold them in half down the center. This binding was cut at 2.5. Sometimes if I'm making a thicker quilt, I'll cut it at 2.75 or even 3. But this is typically the standard size for binding strips that anybody would typically use. It's a 2.5. Now I machine bind all of my quilts. I do not have the time, the patience, or the strength in my little fingers anymore to sew binding by hand. We will start on the back of the quilt and then fold it over onto the front, because I have learned that is the best method for me. As you saw while we were cutting the quilt out, it was not exactly square. And by sewing to the back first and then bringing it forward to the front, I can make sure that I have a very nice clean seam down the front. I can tuck in any of the batting. Because the first quilt I did the other way around, and I missed a whole bunch of the front of the quilt and a whole bunch of the batting. So it's just what I prefer. There are no quilting police. Do what you prefer. And I think I'm going to have to clean my iron when we're done, because I think I got some interfacing glue on it. I feel it catching on the fabric. I made a handbag a couple weeks ago and put the wrong side of the interfacing up by accident because, sewing. But luckily I have a iron cleaning gel that we can use to take that stickiness off. Just one second. Not that I have anybody watching me, but I just like to keep the chat open and check it every once in a while. And now that we're in a different location, I can't see it. So I do apologize to any of my D&D streamers that are popping on thinking that we're on a little early today. We are not. Surprise! Then we'll get my sewing machine set up. I sew on two types of machines. I sew on a Baby Lock Allegro, which I use mostly for my quilting projects and costume and clothing. And then I also have an HD9 Janome that I recently purchased. Oh, hi, Princess, for bag making. And this gorgeous creature that has come to say hello, her name is Athena. It is past 4 o'clock. Therefore, she is telling me it is time for her dinner. So once I get these ironed, I might go look after them and make sure that they're fed. I have 5 cats, so if you get anything from my hobby room, just know that there's a high probability it will be covered in cat hair, even though I use a lint roller. It is quite inevitable that there will be some, if not a lot, of cat hair on it. But we'll get these set up. And together. Then I will go feed Athena and the rest of the cats. Because if I don't, they'll all come down here and let it be known that they are hungry. I feel like this might not be enough strips. Good thing I have leftover fabric. Okay, everybody. I'm going to take a quick few minutes, feed the cats. I'll be back. We will change the camera again. We'll set up the sewing machine. We need to thread a bobbin and get that wound, and then we'll be able to start chain piecing the binding strips. All right. So I'll just unplug my iron here because, well, cats sewing hot surfaces. You never know what could happen. Okay, and I will see you in maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Be right back. Okay, guys. Let's get sorted out here again. We're going to come down here. Try this out. All right. How's that looking? Good. Okay. I'm just going to check one thing here. So the cats were very hungry, in case anybody was wondering. So I hope to get the baby lock set up, and then we'll go from there. Check the microphone. Are we working? Check the microphone. Are we working? Beauty. Okay. We're getting the hang of this streaming things, people. We really are. All right. Okay. Garbage can. There's a whole process to getting set up. Here's my baby lock. My beautiful baby lock. And we did muck around with my mat, so that is now all weirdly out of place. But we'll get it back set up. Okay. Foot pedal. This is what happens when you have several machines. And one tiny little workspace. There we go. It's good to go. One. Good. I don't know what color thread we have in here. Plain white. Let me grab my scissors. Also going to need this and our small cutting ruler because this one is too long. Let's grab it. There we go. Just over in my ruler corner, organizing my rulers. I'm just going to use a little 12 by 6 to cut those. I need that. Snip these. Pull that thread through. Just like that. Okay. I'm going to have to find an empty bobbin. I think my quilting foot is still on there. Now, I have these fancy little keepers for the bobbin thread. See, just a little. So you put the thread here, and then it sticks through. Thread here. I'm not sure where my end piece went to my thread. It is not with me right now. Then I also have this thread keeper. I have a bunch of them. I got them off of Amazon. They were really cheap. There's 4 colors: neon pink, orange, green, and blue. And because this is a quilting thread, it goes into my quilting thread drawer over here, so I can keep track of it. We are going to be using a blue thread today. So the thread I'm using is Navy 21000. It is an essential cotton thread, and I picked this up at Connecting Threads. And I find for my Allegro, it's one of the nicest running threads with very little lint. Bobbins. The question is, do I have any empty bobbins? I should have some empty bobbins in here. Yes, I do. All right. This is a wire kit. You can pick up trays like this at Princess Auto, Canadian Tire, any basically automotive parts place. I find it's really good for putting all my feet, my walking feet in it, as well as my zipper feet, my darning needle, different buttonholes, and my walking foot, my hump jumper. I've got zipper feet, and then keys and stuff that you need. Teflon foot for my Allegros in here as well. It's just a really nice, easy way to keep everything sort of organized and all together for this specific piece of equipment. Okay. I normally use a cream or a taupe or a black, but because this binding is navy, we're just going to go ahead. And there's that bottom piece that we need. It comes right off. Comes off for a reason that I have learned. Some sewing machines wind clockwise and some wind counterclockwise. So depending on how your thread sits, you may need to take this off and put it on the other side in order to mount it on your equipment. So let's just find the start here. I feel as though that's the end of my thread and not the start, because it is wrapped in several layers. Let's see here. There we go. Hey. And my machine likes to have the thread come off on this side, so I'm going to put this on the other side. That's why we don't have it. It goes this way, and then spike it in. Because the Allegro likes to feed from the front. And I have an extra, can't see it, but I have a little extra foot in here. Maybe we'll organize that a little better. And we're going to be wobbing our binding first. So we go in here, up, around, over, through. And I like to have my thread standing up. Standing up. And we go through here, And then come to the bobbin. Through the middle and up is how I like to do it. It's your choice on whatever works best for your bobbins. And then just snap it in and make sure it's in the guide. And we're all discombobulated over here. Over, around, through. And one of the features I like about the Allegro is that it just winds by itself. You push the bobbin over, you push the pedal, and away it goes. And we can do it at a relatively fast-paced speed. The foot pedal needs to be down. Just hold it up all the way over to the side, and then away we go. And I think today, once we get these binding pieces stripped together, we will call it a day. I don't want to take up any of your time, and it's, for us anyways, at least 5:30, so it's getting pretty close to dinner time. It shouldn't take more than one full bobbin to bind this quilt, but you never know. It could go very smoothly, or it could not go very smoothly, because, yeah, that's sort of how sewing works, isn't it? I don't like to wind my bobbin very fast because I find the faster I thread it, there we go, the looser the tension is in the bobbin itself, and it tends not to be very consistent. So pull that off, and we'll give it a little snippy-doo here. Okay, and then there's some dust in there. I did not clean it out from my last run, so let's just give it a quick little wipe in here in the housing and see if we can't catch any of that. Yeah, not sure if you can see that, but there's a whole bunch of fluff on there that we don't really want to transfer over. You want to start relatively as clean as you can. Since we're only doing the binding today, I'm not overly concerned, but before we go to actually bind the quilt, I will take the plate off, go in there, clean everything out, and then I'll give it a little bit of lubrication as well, just to make sure that we don't have any hiccups on the actual quilt, because the last thing we need to do is ruin that beautiful, beautiful piece of art. In, around, up, and then it just automatically cuts. We can put our plate back in. And then we want to make sure when we're threading that one, our needle is in the highest position. So I have an up down button that I will use for that. And then we just go through a regular threading path, and I like to have enough thread that you can maneuver it through its threading path. So down, around, up, through, over, up, through the eye, back down, through here. I am very lucky that I have an automatic threader on here because I am getting older and I'm turning into a blind old bat. So we'll see if we can't get this to thread the first time, and we did. Still think I'm going to need my glasses to pull that through. Yep, for surely. Let's see if we can't get a better hook on it this time. Yep. Okay, bear with me. Glasses time. Aren't they pretty? Brand new. Got them in October of last year. The doctor said I should have seen him sooner. Kind of knew my eyes were not that great. There we go. Perfect. Because I was having trouble seeing things, like the ingredient label on a can of soup. So just put that foot down. Now we're going to try and grab that bottom thread and pull it through. Did we grab it? We did. Okay. Pull enough through. Okay. And with this fabric, we have a nice little sandwich. I'm going to take one end of it to make a sample for us because it's basically fabric sandwich fabric. So I'll grab my bigger scissors that I use for fabric and lop off a piece. So that we can check the tension before we do anything else. Now, because we are just doing the binding strips today, I'll fold this over, put this down, and we're doing binding to binding. So we'll just fold it over because that's essentially what we'll be doing. And I just want to run just a seam down to make sure that where we were last time is where we are this time. Because I have noticed with my Allegro, at least, when you rethread it, the tension just decides to do something entirely different. I'm going to have to adjust my chair. And I can tell that we're not doing anything, so that means that this thread did not catch for whatever reason. So we're going to go down a full cycle. Okay. Through, put the foot down. Grab that thread. I usually do keep a pair of tweezers right beside me. So let's see if I can't find my tweezionis. Right here. Do whatever you like, but I find that it's really helpful to pull threads through. Okay. Okay. Let's try that. It looks great. I'm at a 2.5. I think I might take it up to a 3.5. Just because it just seems to be a little small. But the tension looks fabulous, which I'm very happy about. So let's just give her another whirl at the 3.5. I see what's happening. We have, I think, too much tension up here, and we're not rolling the way that we should. So I told you, once you thread it, and then you thread it again, sometimes it just doesn't want to do the things. So we might get this threaded and then turn it off and call it a day, and I'll come back and sew the strips with you another day. That looks pretty dang good. I'm happy with that. We're just that second line closest to the edge is where we're going. Okay, that is fantastic. We'll put this up here for later. We can actually get our binding strips now, and I think we can whip those together. And like I said, that will probably be the end of my stream today. So I have my little garbage can here, and I want to put these ends together. So I just like to spread these out like this, and then we can cut them here. So this is the first strip, right? Do you guys all know how to put binding together? Right? So we take the second strip, flip it over, and on a diagonal, you want to match it up just like this. Then you want to sew on that diagonal. The reason why you flip it over is so that when you cut it this way, you've got the main panel and the main panel, or the right side and the right side. Because if you didn't flip it, you'd be right, wrong, right, wrong. With batiks, it doesn't really matter that much, but when you're using an actual printed cotton, the print is usually only on one side or very faded on the other. We're just going to sew them together, and I like to hike it up here so it's not hanging down and pulling. Then you just want to start in one corner and go all the way down to the other corner, and you don't have to worry about backstitching because when you fold the binding strips together, they will double up, and then you'll actually catch it in your final seam as well. And then some people like to draw a little line on here. I just like to eyeball mine as best as possible. And then my thread just broke, so it's going to be one of those days today, I think. maybe we loosen the tension a little bit. And maybe we try and put the spool on differently. Go back the way we had it. And run. No, I don't think that's going to work, but we can try it. It has to run. It has to run this way. That's what my diagram says. It has to run this way. So maybe we'll lay it right down. Guys, I might just end it here. It might just be one of those frustrating kind of, I'm sure you've all had them, where just things don't really go the way you planned. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. It might take me a while to get this sorted out. I hope not. Okay, as I was saying, you just put it down, and then you just zing through it. And because we're going to be chain piecing these together, you want to make sure that you have your right side, place it down in front of you, grab your next strip, right sides together, bring it up, hike up this piece, line it up as best you can, and then feed it under, and go again. And I'm just going to double check my tension on here, and everything looks beautiful. We'll just keep going. You want to make sure that it's not twisted. And then you bring this end not twisted. You want it to be the same side. And then this one gets flipped over. And I've got two hard edges of the selvage here. So I'm just going to adjust where I'm placing these because I don't want the hard end of the selvage to actually be part of my binding tape. You see, it's a little more than I would give on the other ones. Lift that foot, get it in there, and then just give it a go. Okay, same piece. That's the end I want. This is the piece I want to join. This is the right side, and I'm going to put the right side down, just like this. Now I do have the option, when we go to quilt the binding, to use a lifter foot, and I often do that because it's easier than constantly having to lift this foot and making an adjustment when you're quilting for that binding. I just find it has less room to slip around, and you can hold it with your hands as you lift. A long time ago when I first started sewing, there was no such thing as a lifter foot. So I'm just very used to constantly reaching in and lifting the foot. Now, to me, it sounds very much like paper when I'm handling it, but that's just the sheer amount of pressing spray I have used on these. Because they're batik, the thread and the weave is slightly different, and I like to have it a little stiffer to work with than, say, a regular normal quilting cotton. Again, all personal preference. Everybody has their own opinion, and there's no right way or wrong way to put a quilt or binding tape together. It's totally up to you what you want to do. And I have set my machine so that when it stops, the needle is always in the down position. Again, less likely for whatever you're working on to fall, slip, especially if it's a really heavy quilt or a blanket, or if you're working on something long like a skirt or a table runner. All that weight will pull it off of your table, and just having that needle down, I find, for me anyways, helps it from getting away from you and sliding away. This is such a pretty batik, batik. Different people say different ways. Call it what you want. Batik, maybe. Like I said, I'm new to quilting. I'm new to the whole quilting process, so I just pick the fancy fabrics that I like and use them. I do have a small little hoard. It's not much. It's just up here in the cupboards of fabric that I really like that I may keep for a project. I hear that tends to be a thing. So I picked up some really beautiful dragonfly fabric from my favorite quilt store. It's literally called My Favorite Quilt Store here in my city. And it is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm just maybe a Fabric Cafe quilt where it's got a focus panel on it where I could use a nice big 5x5 or 6x6 inch square. Don't know. Well, we will find the right time to use it. Okay, this is my last strip. And then we'll take this off. We'll clip the chain piecing. And then I'll cut the ends, the triangles, the dog ears, whatever you want to call them. And then we'll call it a day. And I will get this pressed and on a spool, ready to go for when we actually need it. When I talk about a spool, I actually have a bunch of empty thread spools. And when I make binding, once you fold it in half, it just fits in this groove. So you can put it together. And then when I bind, I like to stick it on my bobbin winder so that it's not hanging down around my waist or my feet, and it actually comes off nicely and feeds right onto the quilt. Whatever works for you, I guess. You don't have to do that. I have learned that helps me significantly keep it out of my workspace. always leave the sewing machine and the foot down. I'm going to close it up, put my scissors up here. Okay, I'm going to move my garbage out of the way. Put this in my hand, put this in my hand. Okay, I am going to grab my binding label, because I know when I look at this that this side is going to be my good side. So I'm going to use 2 little clips. I'm going to just tag what I know to be my front with the colored side of the clip. And I'm also going to throw in my little label I made when I was doing all my original cutting way back in October. I know, I really procrastinated on this. At least this UFO is going to get finished. Then I at least know that this is the tail end of my binding and this is the good side. Okay, so we'll just go through here over my little handy dandy garbage can and clip wherever we chain pieced those little pieces. That little bit of thread. Can you that little bit of thread? And then you can see it has beautifully joined together in that seam. And then we'll just go back through and cut off the little excess pieces and we'll trim up this little tail. Hey, bro, how long has you been there? Oh, this is one of my other cats. His name is Brody. He is a sweet boy. He is 10 years old. And he is an absolute sweetheart. And as I'm doing it, I'm just tossing the clipped stuff out of my way. Oh, hi, big guy. I would really appreciate it if you didn't sit on that. I am most definitely going to need to get out the lint roller before we start playing with this again. Just clip all these little tails now, and then you don't have to worry about them later. And here's our first one. Okay. Now, scissors, go away because we don't want to cut them. We need rotary cutter. Okay. So now we're going to work and do go from the start to the end. And here, again, I want to write myself a little love note. Where did that paper go? Down here. Oh, whatever, scrap. I'm just going to put first front. Okay, and I'm going to grab a clip, and mostly I'm going to grab a green one. So green is go, so that's where I know to start. Okay, first front, Green clip. Green is go. This little batik has a little edge on it, so I'm just going to take a little bit off and get rid of that before we get going. Okay. Alright. Hey, buddy. No. I don't need you here if you're going to be a mess. I don't need you here if you're going to be a nuisance to society. I just want to find that seam. Hi, buddy. I love you so much, but you can't play with that. You're just going to find your seam, and we're going to trim 1/4 inch. Trim whatever you want, actually. 1/4 inch is the standard, but like I said, there's no quilting police. And I'm just going to change the light so I can see it a little better. I hope I don't blind you guys. You can keep these if you want. You can make little triangles out of them. You can make flying geese out of them. But for me, I don't have that kind of patience. And then we'll take this back over to the iron, and we'll just get this all cleaned up and ironed. And hopefully it'll make a nice little. This one was slightly off, but then you just press it. So let's keep going. Here's our next one. Check and make sure that it's all one continuous stream, and we want it all to be continuous. We want it all to fold over. See? That's what we didn't want. Fold, fold, fold. Yes. See? That's where that one's wrong. That one's right. So let's go find our seam ripper, which I happen to have right here. Okay. This is why you double check, everybody, before you cut. It's also why my seam ripper is so close to my sewing machine. Team, we are going to be calling it once I get all of these trimmed. We have just had some significant technical issues and some operator error, as in I made a boo-boo. Luckily we caught it before we trimmed it. No big deal. No big deal. Because sewing. Okay. Now I am going to move that seam over ever so slightly. And I'm also going to clip it because I want to double check it because I don't want to sew it the same way twice. So if I sew it this way. Right. Da-da-da, seam. Seam. Perfect. Okay. And this is why we didn't shut the sewing machine down either. Make sure this is guarded. Come over. Throw it under. Fix that seam. Okay. Crisis averted. Double check one more time before we cut. Seam. Flat, 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 flat. Seam. Flat. Flat, 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 flat. Seam. Perfect. Okay. All right. Again on that. Quarter-inch line. I've got a tag on this side that I need to take off. Be careful that you don't cut your strip. Actually, it's fine. Okay, guard. Quarter-inch seam. I like using this ruler for the quarter-inch seam because it is neon green and I can just line it right up. My ears are slipping. We got a little bit of a tag, so let's take care of that here while we're here too. Pull it nice and tight. Just get rid of that tag. Try not to cut your thumb while you're doing it. Guard. Check. 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 That seam is also incorrect. Okay. That one is correct. I don't know what's going on, guys. Maybe it was because I was talking to you. Who knows? I am also going to have to take the lint roller to this because I have cat hair all over everything. Okay. Seam. Down. Okay. Oh, my computer is beeping at me. Okay, let's do one last check. Seam. Taunt. Seam. Seam. All right. Okay. Let's put the seam ripper over there for now. Hello, kitty. Garbage, guard, fold. Beautiful. Seam, perfect. The way we expected it this time. Okay. Doesn't really matter which way you put your ruler on, as long as you're consistent. And honestly, my first quilt, 1/4-inch seams, as long as they were consistent and I was consistently bad, it didn't matter. They all matched up. Garbage. Got a little bit of a tail here that I want to take off. Okay, that looks good. Guard. And apparently I screwed up on this one too. Guys, just a mess today. Maybe I just need to sew and not talk to you. Maybe that's just what it's telling me. This is why you check. This is why you check. To be fair, I've never had this happen to me before with binding. So maybe it is because I'm chatting and streaming at the same time. Who knows? Okay, seam, flat, 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 flat. Proper seam. Okay. That one's correct. That one's incorrect. Ugh. Every other one, guys. I did every other one correctly. Or incorrectly, whichever you choose to call it. I'm going to say every other one correctly. Positivity. Positivity. And my earphones are crushing my glasses against my face. A little tag. I did do every other one. That's crazy. Crazy, I tell you, crazy. Okay. All right. So, guys, that is the binding all put together. I'm just going to fold it in half with this little note here. And that spool that I put away loosely, I'm just going to wind it on. I still want to take this over to the iron and put a hard crease right down the center. But for now, we're just going to loosely roll it onto this little spool. And then it will be ready for us to iron and put on the quilt next time I see you. On the sewing side of things, anyways. You may see me play a lot of Minecraft with my husband. We're currently building a castle and a medieval town. So feel free, if you see me online playing Minecraft, if that's your thing, go ahead and join. If sewing's your thing, this is the first sewing stream that I've done. We'll see if you guys like it or not. Our Dungeons and Dragons seems to have taken off, but unfortunately, like I said earlier, our dungeon master has had some stuff come up and his schedule has got really busy. So on Sundays, we were streaming every Sunday night starting at 6 o'clock p.m., which is 6:05 my time right now. So if you're here looking for Dungeons and Dragons, surprise, we were sewing today. But if I get a good positive reaction and we get some views, I might do some more sewing and know that not only do I do quilts, but I also sew costumes, I sew clothing, and I also do handbags and wallets. And I work with vinyl and cork and cotton. So if you're interested in that and you see me online, pop in, say hi. Once I get this wound, you know what? We don't have to do this together. I can do this off stream. So thank you so much, guys. If you are watching this after the live, if you'd like to see something in particular, give me a comment. Otherwise, like the video, and I'll see you later.